Now, in-depth coverage of the Texas legislative session. In session, in depth.
Good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. Our Aaron Cargile and David Yeomans have a look at your news and headlines and forecast later in the show. State lawmakers are hard at work this weekend as this year's session ends tomorrow. The biggest debate has been the state's budget for the next 2 years. Yesterday, the Senate passed the bill. The House delayed its vote until later today. The compromise involved several pieces of the puzzle coming together. More available money meant a bigger budget with a pay raise for workers and mental health funding. To make that deal happen, there will be a constitutional amendment vote to create a fund for water infrastructure projects. Lawmakers agreed to restore most of the money cut from schools last session. And the budget also offers about $1 billion in tax cuts, a number that falls short of the governor's goal.
I have to get through the hurdle, and we're running out of time quickly. But you know, this body's going to work very hard this weekend to make sure all that stuff gets done.
Dead or alive, time has been ticking this last week for legislation to make the cut. Looking at some of the most talked about bills making or missing the governor's desk. Getting the go-ahead, Texas schools could train teachers as armed marshals for school safety. Also, brew pubs and small breweries would be able to sell their own beer directly to consumers. And a bill that would have stripped the state's top leaders of their power to award tech grants won't move forward this session. Amid the last-minute rush, this weekend lawmakers remembered the fallen. A session tradition, both chambers joined together to honor Texas soldiers killed in combat. This was Saturday's ceremony.
In the last days of the 83rd legislative session, there is absolutely no disagreement about the importance of honoring these young men and women.
The global war on terrorism has claimed the lives of more than 6,600 American service members, including over 580 Texans.
Oh, amazing grace.
Mothers, fathers, sons, and our daughters.
The empty chairs at holiday dinners, at weddings, at graduations.
Like me.
Their names remained etched in our minds and forever in our hearts.
Sergeant Robert J. Billings, Sergeant Rafado Rodriguez Jr.,
Specialist Jesse W. Dietrich.
I was blind, but now I see.
Let's never forget the debt we owe all of those who served, not just on Memorial Day, but every day of the year.
I see.
Certainly a touching tribute in these final days of the session, but lawmakers shouldn't pack their bags just yet if Lieutenant Governor David Dewhurst has his way. He says he wants the governor to call a special session to tackle failed legislation pushed by conservative Republicans. The governor can force lawmakers back to the Capitol for a month at a time for any reason. Dewhurst wants to revive bills that would require drug tests for welfare recipients, another to let CHL holders carry their weapons into college classrooms, and legislation to further restrict abortions. Other insiders have predicted a special session for redistricting and tax relief. But will the governor agree, and when will he make that announcement? I bet our political roundtable has its own predictions this morning. Joining us today, Brian Sweeney from Texas Monthly and Ross Ramsey from the Texas Tribune. Straight ahead when In Session, In Depth returns.